Good evening.
So thank you very much for your presence here. President Metsola has the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. I have just a few minutes ago ended my exchange of views with the members of the European Council. My message was clear. Putin's criminal invasion has backfired spectacularly. The democratic world today is stronger and more united and more relevant than it was a month ago. The presence of President Biden at the European Council today and the address of Prime Minister Trudeau in the European Parliament yesterday are proof of this. The fact that Brussels is today hosting three major summits is further evidence of the centrality and the leadership that our union has taken in response to Putin's unjustified war. The main message I had and I continue to have on behalf of the European Parliament delivered to the heads of state or government was that the strength and compassion that the world has shown must not diminish. We must stay steadfast and united. I have also expressed the European Parliament's view that we must use our newfound ability to take bold decisions to make sure that we are ready to handle the medium to long-term challenges brought upon us by this war. First, we need to organise our asylum and migration policy to face the needs of people fleeing the war and seeking shelter and protection. Second, we need to give freedom, justice and rule of law priority. That is why Ukraine wants to join the European Union. And finally, we must accelerate the green transition immediately. This is now as much about security as it is about climate. We must wean ourselves off Russian energy and invest heavily in renewables. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take now some questions. Who would like to be first? Jotef, please. Georgie. On the microphone there, yes.
Hello, President. Gary Gotte from Euractiv. I would like to ask you a question regarding Ukraine, the situation on the battlefield. Do you think that Putin is losing the war? And in case that this is your opinion, is there a danger that he may use chemical or even nuclear weapons? And what should we do about it? Thank you.
What is clear is that Putin underestimated our resolve. If we have seen over the past 1 month what we have taken as decisions, unprecedented decisions, you see majority results and votes in the European Parliament. You see member states that have decades-long held positions that are shifting according to public opinion, and that is because we have all been inspired by the courage, resilience and bravery of our Ukrainian partners fighting our war in Europe. So that means that we need to remain steadfast. Nothing can be off the table. Besides immediately calling for a ceasefire, we need to make sure that fundamental principles such as territorial sovereignty and integrity are not ever laid by the wayside. And that means that, first of all, we need to strengthen our resolve, we need to go further, and we also need to make sure that we strengthen and support countries in the region, whether they are in the European Union or outside, that are also taking on, again, an unprecedented humanitarian and military challenge.
Next question. Yes, please.
Good evening, Mark Peperkorn, Volkskrant. Maybe you've said something about it, but I missed the beginning. But I just wonder, Does the European Parliament, or do you think, is there any amount of money which the EU budget, let's say, should earmark for the reception of the millions of refugees coming in? Because we read all proposals, which is from old money 2014 until 2020, and new money. Is there some kind of a ballpark figure what is needed? Thanks.
I think, first of all, we adopted today a decision on the triggering of the CARE, which is the Temporary Protection Directive, as we used to call it, which identifies cohesion funds and also, let's say, assistance that will go to those, first of all, those member states that are receiving the refugees, the people seeking and fleeing Ukrainian war, the Russia's war against Ukraine, and as well going further for those countries that are not those of first arrival, but could be of secondary, third, and tertiary and fourth movements. We have already started to see this, and we need to be prepared, even in our financial decisions, to cater for that type of movements that we have not seen before. At the same time, I think we need to welcome the fact that such an instrument was triggered. Again, if you asked me 4 weeks ago whether this was possible, when looking back at the lack of political will in the past for this to be triggered, then I would have said, I don't know. But today we have seen that the European Union is ready to act. And it's that fundamental word, which is solidarity, which was used many times tonight in the exchange of views I had with the leaders, who said we have adopted already immediate, let's say, measures. We need to also look at the flexibility that we would need to use what we would call unused funds in order to be able to address upcoming challenges. And the challenges are, first of all, humanitarian reception. We need to look at what is happening to to Ukrainians who are fleeing the war. We have concerns of human trafficking. We need to also see that there are these people who are fleeing do not necessarily see a future and in the immediate term that would mean that they would be able to go back home. And therefore, this will be a protracted challenge that putting a ballpark on it is not something that we should be prepared for. Rather than we should say, whatever it takes, we owe it to the Ukrainians who are fighting this war for us, and we owe it to whoever in this world looks at democracy and rule of law and justice as being fundamental principles, for us to make sure that we offer a home to them.
Question suivante. Yes, please.
It's Thomas Miglierina, Swiss Television. Hi. The European Parliament has always been very strong on rule of law. Are you afraid that because of the situation that some of the member states are experiencing now, it might become, at least for the time being, a little bit less of a priority? There are indications that some of the national plans, PNRs, might be deblocked soon. Thank you.
The European Parliament, as you say, has always been strong on the rule of law and will continue to do so. Why? Because these are three fundamental words that underpin everything we do. And every action that is taken needs to make sure that there is no backsliding on these fundamental principles. That is the point of departure for the European Parliament. It continues to be the position of the European Parliament, and this is why we have long asked for an examination or a mechanism that looks at each and every member state, and that any backsliding or any breach is followed, pursued, and we also put the other institutions and their responsibility and hold in these institutions to account if in any way those rule of law principles are not preserved. That will not change.
Please, sir, yes.
LIVE.EU, Radio Fréquence Protestante France. Madame la Présidente, quelles sont vos attentes en tant que Présidente du Parlement et également les attentes du Parlement européen de ce Conseil qui débutera dans quelques minutes et qui est marqué par la présence du Président américain? Merci.
Yes. On what the European Parliament expects, the European Parliament expects that unity will be preserved. It is clear that any gaps or divisions will be exploited by whoever wants to continue to destroy our project. And this is where we need to also look beyond our immediate member states and neighbourhood towards the transatlantic partnership that today is as strong as ever. We reiterated it yesterday with Canada. Today we do it with the United States. This is a global challenge that requires a global response. And I think citizens and individuals in this world who have looked to projects of peace as something that will protect them will look today at a world that is ready to fight against whoever tries to destroy it. And that means that that is a message that we will expect from not only all the member states but also from our partners. And I say partners with responsibility because we also need to see, looking back, at who was willing to implement, enforce and carry through the sanctions and the measures that were taken in order to do everything to make this war end.
Une autre question? Question suivante, s'il vous plaît.
Cenzo Genovese from the Italian newspaper L'Inchiesta. Madam President, you say the hope is what Ukraine needs to sustain. How hopeful should be the Ukrainians that from this council comes a concrete sign, at least, on their accession path to the European Union? Thank you.
When I said hope, I meant that Ukraine should look at Europe as its home. This is a position that the European Parliament took even before Ukraine submitted its application for candidate status. We welcomed that application, and we also wanted to send the strongest of messages that whichever country would like to join our family of values, of democracy, of peace and of rule of law should be able to have and find a home in the European Union. Naturally, this is a process. The European Parliament will work together with the other institutions, but today what we need to make sure is that strongest of messages is maintained and is kept. I had an exchange earlier today also with my colleagues in the Verkhovna Rada. This is a position that I kept, maintained with my colleague, Mr. Stefanchuk. And also it is something that we have taken as a parliament also as our responsibility in our ongoing cooperation with the Verkhovna Rada, but also in granting our premises in order to give a sort of, as we call it, a Ukrainian hub for whoever needs coordination, logistics, political support, and we are ready to provide that. And I think that today it would be a big mistake if that was not what emerged from tonight. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée.
The fact that Brussels age-long held positions that are shifting according to public opinion. Principles such as territorial sovereignty and integrity are not ever laid humanitarian and military challenge.
Sir, yes.
LIVE.EU, Radio Fréquence Protestante France.
Une autre question? Question suivante, s'il vous plaît.
Also with my colleagues in the Verkhovna Rada. This is a position what emerged from tonight. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée.